Hi everyone. I recently had the great pleasure to be interviewed by Dr. Steve Taubman, who is an international speaker, trainer, and an Amazon bestselling author, who has touched the lives of over 350,000 people throughout the world by teaching people how they can stay positive in the worst of times, keeping a positive mindset. And boy, do we need that now. In the conclusion of this interview, we talk about understanding that this will end. Even though it may not seem so, it really will end, and keeping that positive mindset. Also, what realtors should be doing if they're not to keep buyers and sellers safe throughout the pandemic, that those are the ones that are wanting to buy and sell. I have found there are many sellers still wanting to sell in the spring of 2020. Maybe that's you, or maybe someone you may know. Have them call or text my private number at 618-210-2451 today so I can go into detail on how I'm not only keeping my clients safe, but having success selling through this pandemic. Enjoy the interview. This is Ready, Set, Sold, the show that helps real estate buyers, sellers, and agents in the St. Louis Metro East area be more successful. I'm your host, Brian Vogt, a local realtor, Cardinal, and Blues fan, and author of 2 Amazon #1 best-selling books on real estate.
So are you saying that using video is more representative of that than just those static images where you could position the camera in one spot and create this sort of illusory version of what the place looks like? Now we're saying, no, we're going to walk you through this thing. We're actually going to give you a feel for it. So when the time comes for you to come and look at it physically with safety, you're already pretty convinced that this thing is probably going to be a good fit for you.
Right. It's a doable situation. And again, I think this is going to, or I believe it should be, something that sellers should have that ability to do. Look, selling a home, having people coming in is never always a fun thing for anyone. Okay. And I get that. Okay. But what sellers are always banking on is the person coming into this home has the ability, well, that's another issue, but to buy the home, but has strong interest in buying the home.
Serious buyers only, right?
Right. And because it is a serious thing. I mean, I think sometimes that gets lost with it. I think our profession sometimes hasn't done a good enough job of bringing a little bit more professionalism to it. I mean, if you're a buyer, this is the biggest asset that you probably may ever buy.
Yeah.
You're selling your biggest asset that you may ever own. And to always have that, in the background of what we're actually doing here. Yes, you're going to live in your home. You're going to make memories. All those nice things are going to happen. But I think there has to be some acknowledgement to that too.
So, since I have you here, and since you have particular attributes and a quality of being that I think is really very engaging. Like I imagine that you get real raving fans in your business. Like people really like working with you because my observation is you take the time to explain things in a very easy to understand way. You're very caring. You're open about things. You don't seem like you're trying to hold things back. You want to be fully, exposed. So maybe we could take a couple minutes and talk about that too, because since this is that time when realtors or anybody for that matter can be sharpening their saw, right? Can be working on improving their business acumen and learning more about their business. They could also be sharpening their saw in terms of who they're being, right? It's like Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you work on your business.
Love him.
So,
yes.
So from that perspective, what are some of the qualities that maybe people can embrace that you feel are important to you?
Well, I say the word professionalism. There's just seems to be something that sellers and buyers have not liked for years, and there's just too much sales going into it. That it's just in almost every facet that we're going to bring in 25 people into your home, and we're going to get you X this, and we're going to do all these things, and the reality of it is that, first off, I don't know too many, open houses I'll use for example. There are programs out there, we'll go into them, where you can maybe get 50 or 100 people into the home. Well, I don't know. I mean, why would a seller want that? Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying is those all sound good. You know, open houses, I think, for the most part, are done as we know them. Virtual open houses is a totally different thing.
Right.
Again, sellers don't. I think it's just understanding that things have changed. If you're an agent, that you have to start realizing that things have changed, what sellers want and even what buyers want. You know, for years now, sellers have not been crazy about doing open houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, unfortunately, many agents will just going to push them no matter what, and not listening to our clients and what they want is really what this is boiling down to. Is that they're too long. Agents have kind of came in and said, this is my program and I've got my bells and whistles, and that's fine. The marketing is important. I get that.
Yeah.
But what are you trying to accomplish, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? What's your goals? You know, what's your timeline? You know, how can we see if we can make that work? What are the obstacles that might, you know, not let us be able to do that, or whatever? Just having a conversation with people.
It's so comforting to me, you know, to hear that, you know, that kind of an approach. And I think that, I mean, maybe there was a time where people preferred to be kind of hyped into things, and, you know, and like, I'm in charge, let me tell you what to do. But I think nowadays, you know, in my experience, people are very sensitive to being, you know, manipulated. And it's like,
Exactly.
just be real with me, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and
If
ask
there are
good
things,
questions.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The thing is always starts with questions. You know, what do you want to accomplish? What, you know, all those things
Yeah.
that you need to have a good game plan, because otherwise, how can you service them? How can you give them any input? I mean, and this goes with what I would call the basics of anything. I mean, you can't walk into a doctor's appointment and say, I'm sick. And the doctor says, well, let me give you some medicine. Versus saying, what's going on, what's happening. I mean, or go into a restaurant. I mean, it isn't a situation they say, well, hey, let's order cake, before we get your drinks. Desserts are fantastic right now. So what I'm saying is it's just a simple, basic understanding of there's a starting point, and the starting point is what your goals are, and the agent be able to say, okay, look, here's where the market's at right now, and this is what's selling. And if you're reasonable with pricing, if you have the house is in good condition, you're going to have some success. But there'll be other things coming down the road, home inspections, different inspections coming down the road, to let people kind of know what's going to be transpiring and what to expect with those, versus, I hate to say it, but put a sign in the yard, and the 3 P's in real estate is, put a sign in the yard. I can't remember. I should have started. But the last thing is pray. Okay. So I mean, I think those days have hopefully long been gone. That that's kind of the strategy.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I mean, I know for me, if I were looking for real estate in your area, you'd be the guy I'd be going to, because of that, this quality of inquisitiveness, and I think there's also this lack of ego. Like, I don't have to be right. I don't have to even necessarily be the guy that's going to work with you. I'm coming to it from curiosity, which basically means I may or may not be the right person. Which
Right.
means, and if I'm not, that's okay. I don't have to always be the star of the show.
Well, I think that. I think that too. I mean, real estate is definitely has an ego-driven business. Okay, good or bad. It just does seem to be that way. Some of it is kind of understandable, since in some ways our name is our company, so to speak. I mean, you have a brokerage company, but your name is out there.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, I do understand that, but I think you hit it earlier before, and I think it's really important to hit to bring that back up, that you mentioned a great point, and that is, people don't want to be told what to do. I mean, they don't want to be told what to do at work. That's not a very good strategy if you're a boss or a manager or owner. Okay, they may do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's at work. But in their own home, the home they live in, that's not a conducive relationship that I would want, or I
Right.
don't think that people would want. And I think that's, again, giving them a realistic picture of what's going on from the data, and I'll say that again, that's going around them. And again, there's a lot of times a big issue of agents making personal opinions without no data backing it up.
Yeah. Steve Siebold, the author of Mental Toughness, he says that highly successful people operate based on objective reality, right?
Right.
They know the data, they know they know what the reality is, and they're not, operating based on hopes, dreams, and wishes. They're starting from what is,
Right.
and they're doing the studies, they're doing the homework in order to be knowledgeable about the situation as it exists. So, which is what I appreciate about you and all the conversations we've had. So we're kind of coming into the home stretch here. What I want to ask you a couple of things. One is, you're an author. You've, by in many ways, been somebody who's helped other realtors, and as well as helping people out there in the world to understand the business, right, and understand how to buy and how to sell. How can people know more about you? Where can they go to maybe find out about your writing or about even working with you?
Well, I mean, the easiest way, you can call my private line or text me 618-210-2451. I have written one book in particular that deals especially with the sellers. Ready, Set, Sold. It's a bestseller, and it's had great impact, great success for sellers, of getting the information out to them of how they can have success.
So
So
it's
that would
Ready,
be
Set, Sold.
Ready, Set, Sold. It's 12 proven steps to get your house sold for top dollar in a fast sale. And that's worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really important. And I think, Steve, you're similar in that way. Sometimes you just have to get the information. You want to be able to give people information
Yeah.
to help them. And a lot of it was some of the bad information that was out there. I mean, there's a joke, but the internet, right? Everything's true on the internet.
Right.
And there's a lot of that going on. So that was one of the things.
So you're kind of cutting through the bull and, giving some
Yeah.
real practical stuff.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
no, I was just going to say, I think that's a book that people can get a hold of, and that's on Amazon, isn't it?
That's on Amazon. You can call or text me. I'll get you a free copy. That's not an issue either.
Better
I'm glad
still.
to do that too.
Yeah.
And that's a starting point there. And so again, let's have a conversation. Let's see where we're at. What are you hoping to accomplish? Understanding that we have things going on in our world, but they can be overcome. Okay, and I think that's the most important thing. Is that right now, where we're at as we're speaking, we can buy safely and we can sell homes, and I think that's important for people to know too.
Well, thanks for bringing a message of hope and again, objective reality to this whole thing. And I would encourage people to go ahead, take a look at Ready, Set, Sold. Get in touch with Brian and talk to him directly. He's an awesome guy. It's so much fun talking to you. Again, for those of you who don't yet have a copy of Bulletproof, there's a couple of things you can do. One is you can actually go to Amazon right now, and for a short while still, I've got the Kindle version of the thing on there for just 99 cents. So if you want to do that, that's a steal, right?
It is.
Another thing you may want to do is go to bestofsteve.com. And if you go to bestofsteve.com and put in your email address, you'll be on my mailing list newsletter, so you find out about some of these kinds of things we're doing and read some of my weekly wisdom tips. And you'll also get a free digital download of the first chapter of the book. And at the end of reading that, I give you a discount coupon for or some kind of a gift for if you decide you want to go ahead and then buy the book itself, the physical book. So please, join my world, join Brian's world. And thanks for taking the time to tune in here. Brian, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your humor, and for your straight shooter attitude.
Pleasure, Steve. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks a lot, my friend.
Got a question about real estate around the St. Louis Metro East area? Call me, Brian Vogt, at 618-210-2451. Or for a free copy of my Amazon #1 best-selling book, Ready, Set, Sold, visit my website at brianvogt.com. Thank you for tuning in. This is Brian Vogt. Until next time on Ready, Set, Sold.